There's something almost ritualistic about the way some people indulge in sleep on weekends, as if their body suddenly turns into an animal hibernating after a long season of deprivation. While most wake up with the Saturday sun, ready to enjoy their free time, they sink even deeper under the covers, as if the outside world were an unwanted invitation. It's not just tiredness, it's a visceral need, a refuge that goes beyond the physical. But what does this seemingly innocent habit reveal about those who practice it? And why, for some people, sleeping in on their days off is not laziness, but a silent form of self-protection? Before anyone labels this as a lack of discipline or sloppiness, it's worth remembering, the body doesn't lie. If he asks for extra rest, it's because something is out of balance. It could be the accumulated stress of the week, sleepless nights due to anxiety, or even a sign that the routine is taking up more energy than it should. It's no wonder that many people describe this prolonged sleep as making up for lost time, as if, for 5 days, they had lived in a state of semi-survival, and only now, finally, could they breathe without rushing. But let's go beyond the obvious explanation. Behind this habit, there is often a complicated relationship with time. For those who sleep too much on weekends, days off are not just a break, but a territory of freedom, perhaps the only time when there are no clocks to tick, goals to hit or expectations to meet. It's as if, by closing their eyes for a few more hours, they are regaining not only their sleep, but also their feeling of control over their own lives. The body, in this case, becomes a refuge. Under the covers, there is no boss, there are no bills to pay, there is no pressure to be productive. There is only silence, darkness, and permission to exist without justification. And here comes a fascinating detail. This pattern tends to be more common in people who, during the week, overexert themselves. They are those who arrive at work early, answer emails at night, and postpone rest in the name of responsibility. For them, sleeping in isn't lazy, it's an act of silent rebellion. The body, tired of obeying, finally refuses to follow the script. It's as if saying, enough. Now it's my turn. In this sense, the bed becomes a space of resistance, the only place where there is no need to perform, there is no need to be strong. But there is also a less noble side to this story. In some cases, this excessive sleeping on weekends can be a symptom of emotional exhaustion or even depression. When a person is unable to get up even to do things that used to give them pleasure, when their body feels too heavy to get out of bed, when hours pass without them wanting to face them, it is a sign that something deeper is happening. In this scenario, sleep is no longer a refuge, but an escape. The body is not resting, it's shutting down, like a computer that has overheated and needs to be force restarted. Interestingly, those who sleep too much on weekends often carry hidden guilt. After all, we live in a society that glorifies productivity, where seizing the day is almost a moral obligation. Anyone who dares to stay in bed until noon is seen as lazy, as if they were wasting a precious gift, free time. But what if, in fact, this prolonged sleep was an act of radical self-care? What if, instead of judging, we stopped to ask, what is this person trying to recover when they close their eyes for so long? Perhaps the answer lies in the crazy pace of modern life, which makes us believe that rest is a luxury, not a necessity. Maybe it's the idea that, to deserve breaks, we need to exhaust ourselves first. Or maybe it's simply the fact that, in a world that doesn't stop, sleeping is the only way to say no without need to explain why. If you recognize yourself in this habit, know that there is nothing wrong with needing more hours of sleep to feel human again. The body knows what it does. And if he's asking for rest, it's because, somewhere in your routine, you're giving more than you receive. Maybe the real question isn't why do I sleep so much, but what in my life is taking so much away from me that I need to make up for it? And if today you woke up late, without guilt, know that this could be the first step towards listening to what your body has been trying to say for a long time. Sometimes revolution begins not with a march, but with the simple, courageous act of closing your eyes and letting the world wait. What if your sleep was an act of resistance? Imagine that, in a world where productivity is measured in waking hours and exhaustion is worn as a badge of honor, closing your eyes for longer than normal is not laziness but a silent cry for self-preservation. It's no wonder that, in the most fast-paced societies, sleep has become a revolutionary luxury, something that the rich buy at wellness clinics and the exhausted steal in sneaky naps between meetings. But what if we reversed the logic? What if, instead of asking why do I sleep so much, we asked, what in my life is so heavy that my body needs to shut me down to bear it? Think about it. Sleep is not an escape, it is a recalibration. It's the moment when your brain, overwhelmed by decisions, notifications, and other people's expectations, finally disconnects from the world to reconnect with itself. Maybe you're not sleeping too much, maybe you're waking up too little for everything that really matters. Sleep as a mirror. What is your body trying to tell you? 1. You are giving more than you receive. If your sleep hours have increased after a period of stress, an intense project, a breakup, a family crisis, your body is paying off its energy debt. It's no coincidence that, after periods of overload, we need whole days under the covers. That's the bill coming up. And guess what? Paying this debt is not weakness, it is biological intelligence. 2. You are avoiding something. Sometimes sleep is the only way to quiet your mind when reality is too loud. If you've been putting off difficult conversations, ignoring emotions, or living on autopilot, excessive sleep can be an unconscious escape. It's no coincidence that those who go through grief or deep transitions often report extreme drowsiness. It's the body asking for a forced break to process what the mind doesn't want to face. 3. You're in creative hibernation mode. Have you ever noticed how, after a long, deep sleep, ideas flow better? The brain uses rest to reorganize memories, solve problems, and even generate insights. If you're sleeping more than usual, you may be incubating an internal change, a new perspective, a project, or even a version of yourself that hasn't yet dared to be born. 4. Your body is protecting itself. In times of chronic anxiety, sleep is a survival mechanism. It's as if the nervous system is saying, if I can't fight or flee, I'm going to shut down until the storm passes. Not surprisingly, studies show that people with depression or emotional exhaustion often experience hypersomnia, excessive sleep, not because of laziness, but because the body is in preservation mode. The guilt of sleeping. Why does society demonize rest? We live in a culture that glorifies tiredness and distrusts rest. Anyone who sleeps late is lazy. Anyone who takes a nap at work is disengaged. But who defined that 8 hours of sleep is the ideal standard? Spoiler, it was the Industrial Revolution, which needed workers working like machines. The truth is that sleep is not a straight line, it varies by age, genetics, stage of life and even season. Some need 10 hours to feel human. Others, 6. The problem is not how much you sleep, but how you feel when you wake up. If you wake up refreshed after 12 hours, congratulations, you listened to your body. If you wake up guilty, the issue isn't sleep, it's internalized social pressure. What if, instead of fighting sleep, we learned from it? 1. Sleep as an emotional compass. Pay attention. When do you sleep the most? After a stressful day? Before an important event? When are you sad? Writing down these patterns can reveal what your body is trying to compensate for or avoid. 2. The power of doing nothing. In a society that equates value with productivity, sleep is a political act. It's saying, my well-being is non-negotiable. Experiencing periods of conscious leisure, without guilt, without justification, can be as transformative as therapy. 3. Dreaming as a practice of self-knowledge. Have your dreams been chaotic? Recurring? Or do you just not remember anything? Dream content, or lack thereof, is a thermometer of the subconscious. Writing down fragments when you wake up can reveal fears, desires, or conflicts that you ignore during the day. 4. Redefine rest. Rest isn't just sleeping, it's any activity that recharges your energy. For some, it's reading. For others, it is walking without a destination. For others still, it's lying down looking at the ceiling without guilt. The secret is to identify what, for you, amounts to turning off the autopilot. An invitation. What if you gave yourself permission? Imagine, for a second, a world where sleep was not a waste of time but an investment in sanity. Where waking up late wasn't laziness, but wisdom. Where taking a day to do nothing was not a luxury, but a necessity. This world is not in the future, it can start today, with you. If you woke up now and felt guilty about sleeping in, breathe. His body did what it needed. If you've been putting off rest because there's a lot to do, ask yourself, What on this list will be really important in 5 years? If you feel exhausted even after long nights, consider, maybe it's not sleep you need, but a life that doesn't drain you of so much energy. The revolution of those who dare to rest. In an era of hustle culture and romanticized burnout, sleep is an act of rebellion. It's telling the world, my health is not negotiable. My time is not infinite. And my worth is not measured by how much I produce, but by how much I allow myself to exist. So, the next time someone asks, why do you sleep so much? Try answering. Because I'm learning to live at my own pace. Because my body knows what I still don't understand. Because, in a world that doesn't stop, I choose to listen to myself. And if today you need another hour under the covers, do it without guilt. Sometimes, the most productive thing we can do is nothing. Now, tell me. Sparkles, have you ever felt guilty about sleeping too much? What was your body trying to tell you? Sleeping symbol, what is your relationship with rest? Comment here, let's exchange experiences. Bell, if this text made sense to you, activate the bell so you don't miss the next reflections. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it. Sometimes, a text is the little push we need to allow ourselves to rest. Until next time. And remember, the world can wait. You don't. Crescent Moon Sparkles. The art of doing nothing, why the world is afraid of your rest. Have you ever noticed how society treats rest as a guilty luxury? While we glorify those who don't sleep, as if that were a trophy, anyone who dares to take a nap in the afternoon or say no to an exhausting happy hour is labeled lazy, uncommitted, or surprise, not very ambitious. But here's the inconvenient truth. Capitalism turned tiredness into currency, and we bought this lie. Think about it. When was the last time you heard someone boast about having slept 8 hours straight with the same thing? Proud of someone who closes a project at 3 a.m.? Or when you allowed yourself to lie on the couch without justification, without a productivity podcast playing in the background, without guilt gnawing inside like a mouse in a grain bin? Pure rest, that without purpose, without optimization, has become a subversive act. And it's not for nothing. In a world that sells the idea that you are what you produce, stopping is a scandal. It's as if, by closing your eyes, you are betraying the system. What do you mean? You're not generating content, or answering emails, or learning a new language while working out. You're existing? How bold. But here's the secret no one tells you. The most creative, resilient, and even productive, yes, productive, people are those who have mastered the art of not doing shit. What happens when you stop running, and let the world turn without you? 1. Your brain does some cleaning. Have you ever heard of default mode network? It's a network of brain areas that only light up when you're idle in the shower, looking out the window, lying aimlessly. It is in this mode that the brain consolidates memories, that brilliant insight you had while washing dishes. Yes. Solves problems. Archimedes' eureka didn't come during a strategic alignment meeting, it came in the shower. Generates creativity. Studies show that people who take mental breaks have 30% more innovative ideas than those who push the envelope. Translation: when you waste time, you are actually gaining clarity. 2. Your body rebels, in a good way. Cortisol, that stress hormone that leaves you feeling like you're being chased by a lion 24/7, drops drastically after 20 minutes of rest without stimulation. That's right, no Netflix, no Instagram, no taking the opportunity to do something else. In return, you get reinforced immunity, defense cells regenerate better. Regulated metabolism, yes, sleeping poorly makes you fat. Science proves it. Grateful heart, blood pressure drops as if you had taken medicine, but without side effects. Cruel irony, we take very expensive supplements to improve our health, but refuse to give our bodies the cheapest and most effective medicine, stopping. 3. You regain humanity. When was the last time you felt bored? Not that boredom of scrolling through your feed without finding anything interesting, but genuine boredom, the one that comes before inspiration. So it is. Boredom is the birthplace of self-discovery. This is where I hear my own voice, without the pollution of other people's opinions. Rediscover desires, that childhood dream you buried because it doesn't make money. Reconnect with the present, and realize that life is not just a checklist. Boredom is the silencer of external noise. And the world is terrified of it, because when you stop consuming, you start to question. But why is it so hard to just stop? The answer lies in 3 myths that we have swallowed as truth. 1. If I'm not busy, I'm irrelevant. Ray eyes. We live in a culture that confuses value with visibility. If you're not posting, producing, or hustling, you disappear. But here's the bomb. The most impactful people in history, from Einstein to Frida Kahlo, had long periods of idleness. Genius is not born from exhaustion, it is born from the space to digress. 2. Rest is for those who have already arrived there. Root. The perverse logic that only successes deserve to pause. As if rest were a prize, not a right. But the question is, if you put off resting until you get there, when exactly will you get there? Spoiler, never. Because the finish line is a mirage that moves with you. 3. If I stop, everything will fall apart. Root. The ancestral fear that, without your constant control, the world will burn. But try it. Take a day off without telling anyone. Nothing will fall apart. The email can wait. The project can wait. The world spins without you, and that's not an accusation, it's a liberation. How to rest in a world that doesn't stop. No guilt, no excuses. 1. Claim leisure as a political act. Refuse to justify your rest. It's not laziness, it's resistance. Every hour you spend lying down reading a book or staring at the ceiling is a punch in the nose from toxic productivity. Phrase to remember: my rest is not laziness, it is refusal of a system that wants to exhaust me. 2. Create disconnection rituals. Practical example: every day, at 6 p.m., my cell phone goes into airplane mode and has no internet for an hour. It's not about having time, it's about regaining your sanity. Radical tip: try a purposeless day. No goals, no to-do list. It just exists. Yes, you will feel anxiety at first. That's normal. It's productivity addiction giving you withdrawal symptoms. 3. Redefine productive. New equation. Productive not equal to doing a lot. Productive equals doing what matters, and this includes doing nothing when necessary. Key question: 5 years from now, what will matter more? Whether I answered that email at 11 p.m. or whether I slept well? 4. Learn from those who have already mastered the art of not doing. Italians have dolce far niente, the sweet art of doing nothing. The Danes practice hygge, intentional comfort, without guilt. The Japanese advocate Nick Sen, the act of simply being, without purpose. Universal lesson: cultures that value leisure have lower burnout rates and greater longevity. Coincidence? No. Rest is an act of love and war. When you choose to rest in a world that glorifies burnout, you are doing 2 powerful things. 1. Loving yourself because you are saying, my body is not a machine. My mind is not a factory. I deserve peace. 2. Challenging the system because you're proving that life doesn't have to be a race to exhaustion to be valuable. And here's the most uncomfortable truth of all: the world won't stop if you stop. The emails will keep coming. Social media will keep rolling. The demands will continue to exist. But you don't have to be a slave to them. So the next time someone asks, why are you resting so much? Try answering: because I'm training to live, not to survive. Because my time is not currency to be spent, but a gift to be savored. Because, in a world that taught me how to run, I chose to learn to dance, and sometimes dancing is just standing still, just listening to the music. Now, tell me, without rushing. Crescent Moon, when was the last time you rested without guilt? What happened when you dared to stop? Person in bed, what would you do if today was just your day, without obligations, without shoulds? Comment here, let's dream together. High voltage sign: if this text touched you, save it to your favorites to read whenever the world tries to convince you that you need to be always on. And if you know someone who needs this permission to rest, share. Sometimes, a text is the excuse we needed to finally close our eyes. Remember, you are not a machine. You are a human being. And human beings were not made to function 24/7. Until next time. And today, give yourself permission to not be productive. The world can wait. You don't. Herb Sparkles. P.S. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you've just performed the revolutionary act of reading slowly. This is already rest. Winking face.